Oh, how I wish I had a beautiful corner to sit in with the most perfect lighting to do all my filming when I do sit down videos, but I don't. So here we are on my brown couch today. I was thinking this morning as I was getting like my setup ready that if you were to come into my home and have a conversation with me, I'm not gonna bring you to some cute little corner to talk with you. This is where we would be here on my brown couch, just having conversation together. And so why wouldn't this be the most perfect place? Because this is where it is real and honest. A little while ago, actually it would have been about a month ago, I posted a Q&A, and within that Q&A, I briefly talked about how I had been dealing with anxiety in the past, but more so in the year of 2020. That is when anxiety was the most here in my life, and my life felt like it was being torn apart. And when I brought that up, a lot of you guys commented that you would love to hear my anxiety story and how I kind of went upon my journey to get to a place of healing. So today that's what I'm going to be sharing is my anxiety story. Now I will be opening up about my healing and my whole journey to get to where I am today, but today my main focus is going to be my story. I feel like if I put this all in one video, it's just going to be a lot of information and actually might come off as overwhelming rather than helpful. But before I get into my story, I would just like to share a few things that are on my heart. And the first one is just being that if you are walking through a season of anxiety, depression, whatever the case may be, I just want you to know that you are not alone and there are people that are here in this with you. I know that it can feel like such a lonely and dark place. I just hope that this video is a place of encouragement and that you can find some kind of peace or hope from it that will put you closer to healing and getting through whatever you're walking through. Over this past, well, almost 2 years now, I had really started to open up about my anxiety journey, and I was completely shocked and blown away that I had no idea how many people were dealing with anxiety. The more I opened up, the more people that I personally know were like, yes, I have dealt with that in the past and I know how hard it is, but I had no idea. And I just truly feel like it is just kind of a human nature thing that we feel like we need to keep our own demons locked in our closet and portray that we're these people that don't deal with, the crap of life. But it is so false. We all deal with something, whether it is an addiction or if it's something with mental illness or whatever it is. We all have something. The more people that started to talk about their journey to me, the more that I could feel myself healing, because when I was in my darkest place, I felt so far almost gone. And the more people that started opening up, I was like, I got this. These people that I know made it through, through their darkest valleys, and they are up here on this mountain now. And so I've really started to open up and share with everyone because I don't feel like this is something I need to be ashamed of, but instead is something that could be used for good. And that's kind of led me to where I'm at today with wanting to share my story. And with that being said, I just want you to know that it is okay to seek help. When I was in my darkest place, I knew that I needed to do something because it was not the life that I wanted to live. And I was so crippled and just taken down by fear of anxiety that I was pretty much willing to do anything. And so I actually started seeing a therapist. I was seeing a local therapist and went through that whole program, and then I was actually able to move on from that. And I hadn't been in therapy for a while, but BetterHelp reached out to working together, and I was like, what perfect timing, because I was getting ready to tell my story with you guys. And so I asked them if I was able to try out the program myself, because I feel like I can't promote something to you guys without knowing that I love it myself. And so I have now been in therapy for over a month, and it has been so good. Even if I'm not in a place where I feel like I truly need it, it is good to be able to work on strengthening these skills that I need. So if I get anxious again and it creeps up in my life, I'm better able to deal with the situation. So I'd like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this portion of today's video. If you have not heard of BetterHelp, it is not a crisis line, it's not self-help. It is where you actually see a professional licensed therapist that is done securely online. Once you take a small assessment, you're matched with a therapist and you're able to communicate within 48 hours. This is a worldwide service, and there are more than 20,000 therapists that have expertise in so many areas and an areas that you might need that may not be offered to you locally. You can do live chat anytime. I personally do the weekly video chat, but you can do weekly video chats or phone chats. And also, not only is BetterHelp more affordable, but they also offer financial aid. And if you're not happy with your therapist, you can change at any time. So if you're interested, I do have a link down in my description for you to find, but you can also go to betterhelp.com/summgoodstuff for 10% off your first month. I just think it's a really good way to help get your mental health back on the track that you need, whether you feel like you need it or not. I definitely think it's worth trying out. So with that being said, I am ready to share my story with you now, and I just hope and pray that you get something out of this, and that even if I'm able to help one of you, that would mean so much to me. So here we go. We're gonna take this back all the way to when I was in 6th grade. So I'm 26 now. We're going back to a little 12-year-old summer, and it was the summer going into my 6th grade year. We just got a brand new puppy. I convinced my parents to get me this dog. Her name's Anna. We still have her today. She's old now, but we got this little new puppy. And my dad surprised us by bringing her home. One of my brothers, I don't remember which, they had the dog and we didn't have her on a leash. She was just kind of following us around and she ran away. And so we searched and we searched and we searched and we did not find her that entire evening. It finally came to the point where we needed to go to bed, and in the middle of the night, I woke up and I felt sick. My heart was racing. I ran to the bathroom. I ended up throwing up, and that was the start of my first round of anxiety. And so we got Anna back. I thought that I was going to be like healed after that. I thought it was just maybe like a stomach flu type thing, you know. But every day from that day forward through the entire summer, I was sick every single morning. I would be fine in the evening. Usually I was busy doing something, whether it was hanging out with a friend or we were camping or whatever the case may be. When the morning would roll around, I would wake up and I would just feel, I'd be laying in bed, it would just feel this dread of knowing I'm going to be sick again today. I just know it. And then like clockwork, I would be sick, I'd be throwing up, I had diarrhea, I was losing all this weight. And my mornings, I mean, I have no better way to put this other than they were a living hell. Like, I dreaded every single next day because I just knew that something was gonna be wrong. After some time of me being sick and realizing like I'm not getting better, my mom made me a doctor's appointment. We went to the doctor and they ran, blood work. I had to do stool samples. It was like this whole thing, and everything came back normal. I was a healthy 12-year-old girl. And he said to my mom, "What if this is anxiety?" My mom's like, "I don't know." The way that I take this anyways, we just kind of think it's nerves. And so we moved on. And I was sick. And then finally, one day, I just snapped out of it. And that was that. High school happens. Everything's fine. I go through college. Everything's fine. I don't have a spell. Here comes 2020, which I can safely say was the darkest, most scary year of my life. And I would like to preface this by saying that, everything that was going on in the world, none of that is what triggered any of this. I can just safely say that there was no effect of, being afraid that I was gonna get sick or not seeing people. And I'm lucky because that's not everybody else's case. I know so many people that were affected so badly by the pandemic and everything that I couldn't even fathom. This is when mine all started. I went to the Iowa State Fair, and at the time I was working in dialysis, and I would have to get up at 3:30 in the morning for work. We ended up being there really late, and so I didn't get home until probably almost midnight. My alarm went off in the morning, and I woke up feeling awful. I was so tired, and when I'd get up, my heart would start racing. I felt physically ill. That whole day, my heart was just jittery. I had diarrhea. My mind was racing from thought to thought, and that was the start to another round of a never-ending, felt like a never-ending round of anxiety. That day forward, I woke up every single morning thinking, I can't do this again. As the best way I could put it. I just felt so physically ill. I kind of felt like my life was never going to be the same. the best way that I could describe it. And then from there, that is when I started to get a lot of anxious thoughts. So my anxiety was brought to me in thinking that something was going to either specifically happen to my brothers. I just had this fear that, you know, they were going to get hurt on the farm, and that I wouldn't have brothers anymore. And I think part of it was I had a friend that lost a brother a couple years ago. I was not expecting to get emotional during this. I had a friend that lost a brother a couple years ago, and I mean, I just feel like it changed me completely as a person inside. I developed this irrational fear that my brothers, something was gonna happen to them. I just had a lot of fear about like with their work and farming, and then my anxiety kind of switched over to, which kind of backstory here, Jay and I had been trying to get pregnant for, I don't know, it had been 9 months at this time. And then I was hit with this anxiety, and then it came to the point where I didn't want kids anymore. I didn't even think I wanted to be a mom, because I had a lot of fear that I was going to be an anxious mom and that I wasn't going to be able to provide for my kids, which kind of brings me back to a story. I had watched my friend's baby for a weekend, and I had a really anxious weekend brought on by somebody else that I was with prior to it. Then I had this whole moment where I was anxious this whole weekend watching this precious little 9-month-old. I had to have friends come in and help me because I just like physically couldn't stand up to watch this child. I felt sick. I didn't sleep at all that weekend. It was awful. And so then I started bringing in these past thoughts of when I watched this child, and then I thought, I'm gonna be an anxious mom, and if I'm an anxious mom, there's no way I'm gonna be able to function. So then we quit trying, like at least I should say we like weren't trying to have a family anymore. And then from there, I like went through this whole battle in my mind of, you know, what if I'm not a person that's gonna be able to function in society anymore, and I'm just gonna have to live here at home, and I won't be able to go out with people. And it was this whole thing, and that got to the point where I was at my darkest point, and I never had thoughts of like ending my life, but I had some pretty dark thoughts. So that's when I started reaching out to, you know, family. My sister-in-law, Michelle, was like a godsend. I almost put like most of my credit for here of people that helped me to her. Like I could just feel her so strongly when she'd pray for me. Like I just knew what she was doing was helping. And then, oh my goodness, I haven't like talked about this in depth in a long time, but then I ended up going to therapy, and I saw a therapist for a while. I changed my diet. I found some of my triggers, which I promise I will talk about in an upcoming video, but I'm just trying to keep this simple for this one. I found a lot of my triggers. I cut those out. I started getting on a schedule, you know, getting better sleep, and spent less time on my phone. And there was a lot of things that I did where I eventually came to a place where my life was finally feeling like my life again, and that I had somewhat of a control, and that I wasn't in this like dark pit. It was a whole journey. I mean, it was months and months and months of healing. It's not one of those things that you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm good and my life is back to normal. At least that's not my case. It took so much work and dedication, and it still does. I still have times where anxiety creeps back up into my life. I can thankfully say that it hasn't been to the point that it was, and I'm able to kind of use the tools that I've learned through therapy and just different things that I was doing to kind of bring me back quickly to a place where I feel good. But it is a journey that I know that I'm going to deal with probably the rest of my life, but I hope to just continue to better myself and get to a point where it doesn't feel so scary. I just hope that this resonates with someone, and that this helps you see the light at the end of the tunnel, because I know when you are in the dark, it just feels so dark, and it is really hard to see that life is going to be back to what it is. I'm not going to promise you that it's an easy road, but I promise taking the road and trying to find your path again is so worth it, because once you are back on that path and you can see that life was meant for so much more, that it's worth it, and that it's gonna be okay. So before I end this video, I would just like to read this thing. I was praying before I started this video because I just wanted this to come from a place that was real and honest. I was praying about what, like, I just wanted God to speak to me. And so I was told to read Psalms 32, Psalms 84, and Psalm 73, and they all kind of hit for different reasons. But I wanted to read this little note on the side of my Bible. This is kind of based off of Psalm 73, 23 through 26. God knows you by name better than you know yourself and has your best interest at heart always. Never forget that he will be with you and will tenderly carry you when you can't find the strength to stand on your own. And this meant so much to me because just knowing that there's someone that is going to carry me through and get me through to where I need to be is so encouraging, because it's easy to feel alone, and there's just someone that knows your bigger picture and sees your full story. Even though you might not see it now, he sees your story all played out. So just put the trust in that God has you and that he is going to carry you to where you need to be. When you have no feet to carry you no more, he's going to pick you up and walk you to where you need to go. I thank you guys for listening. I know that this was kind of a lengthy video. I'm just grateful that you're here, and if you heard this message, that I just pray that it has helped you in some way. So I'll see you guys in the next one.